Inspiring 12-year-old daughter reveals amazing heart by sharing food with employee, shocking dad. It was a sunny afternoon in their cozy Ohio suburb, the kind of day that promised adventure. 12-year-old Mia walked through the grocery store, her small hand clasped tightly in her father Jake's larger, calloused one. She scanned the aisles filled with colorful produce and lively chatter, but her carefree spirit faded as she caught sight of Mr. Thompson. The elderly clerk, with his salt and pepper hair and stories etched into his wrinkled face, struggled to stack shelves, sighs escaping his lips like whispers of a fading dream. Mia's heart clenched. Mr. Thompson was a veteran, a man who fought long ago but was now wrestling with life's cruel grasp. As Mia watched, she could feel others rushing by, oblivious to the weight he bore. It wasn't just age that got him, it was bills, loneliness, and the relentless grind of making ends meet. In stark contrast, her father focused on finding affordable snacks, oblivious to the hidden battle swirling around them. "Mia, let's grab some apples, they're on sale," Jake said, pulling her towards the produce section. But Mia's eyes were still glued to Mr. Thompson, and a soft warmth settled in her chest. "Dad, can we help him?" she barely whispered, the urge to reach out pulling at her heartstrings. "Help him? We need to focus on our groceries, kiddo," Jake replied, a frown forming at the corner of his lips, worry lines deepening. "We've got our own bills to worry about." "But it won't break us to share a little," Mia insisted, her small voice filled with conviction that made her father pause. "His smile is worth more than these groceries, don't you think?" With a flicker of hope igniting within her, Mia pushed the cart towards the checkout, pointing out extra items for Mr. Thompson. Jake hesitated, internal struggles playing out as he grappled with the family's tight budget. But the intensity of Mia's compassion was undeniable, and he couldn't just dismiss it as childish naivety. That evening, filled with surprise and gratitude, Mr. Thompson accepted the bag of food Mia presented, a mix of fruits, bread, and canned goods. But not everyone in their tight-knit neighborhood reacted kindly. Their affluent neighbors found Mia's act of kindness naive. Whispers of do-gooder and poor judgment floated through the air, sharpening the lines between heart and practicality. As days rolled on, tension grew like a thundercloud looming over their little family. Jake felt the weight of societal pressure closing in, while Mia became increasingly resolute in her mission. Little did they know, this gentle act would spark a chain of extraordinary events. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One evening at the neighborhood barbecue, Mia found herself standing at a crossroads of compassion and prejudice. The air crackled with tension as her neighbors expressed disdain for Mr. Thompson, labeling him a charity case. "Why do you care so much?" Jake asked, the confusion in his voice clear as the churning in his chest grew. As arguments ignited and old wounds ripped open, Mia's heart raced. This was not just about groceries anymore. It was about human dignity and the love we owe our community. Little did they know that an unexpected confrontation awaited them next, one that could unravel their understanding of compassion itself. Would the love of a daughter challenge the heart of a father, or would the worries of the world chain them to their own fears? The questions lingered as an emotional storm brewed, ready to reshape everything they knew. The garden lights flickered softly as the warm evening breeze wrapped around Mia like a comforting blanket. The barbecue buzzed with conversation, laughter peppered with the scent of charred burgers and grilled vegetables. Yet an invisible wall separated her from the joy surrounding her. She watched adults swap tales, their faces illuminated by flickering flames, while her heart sank heavier with every dismissive comment about Mr. Thompson. Maybe he should just retire. Can't he take care of himself? One neighbor scoffed, shrugging off the elderly man's struggle like it was nothing more than an inconvenience. Each callous remark cut deeper, and with every laugh that erupted, Mia felt a crack growing in herself, a fracture between her understanding of kindness and what she perceived as the cold indifference of the grown-ups. Do they not see him? She thought. How can they just stand there? Her innocent heart boiled with the realization that their views could hurt someone so deserving of care, someone who fought for them long ago. She could feel her father's eye on her, his expression caught between pride and her compassion, and shielded discomfort over what was unfolding. Mia, Jake finally said, his voice low, nudging her gently. Maybe we should focus on something else. Let us find your friends. It was as if he was trying to protect her from the harsh world outside their own familial bubble. But she couldn't turn away, not now, not after everything she had done for Mr. Thompson. I can't, Dad, she said, her voice barely louder than the rustle of leaves. Someone needs to talk to them. They're wrong. Jake sighed, half wondering how to wield the strange duality of being a father and a realist in that moment. And what would you say? They're entitled to their opinions, he said, attempting to mask his own frustration. They're wrong. She could feel her heart racing, adrenaline bubbling up under the surface. It's not about just his opinion. It's about what's right. He's not a charity case. He's a person. He deserves more than this. The silence that followed was deafening. Mia's voice had drawn a few curious stares, and the distant laughter faded. Jake looked around them, and for a split second, his eyes seemed to see the larger picture, a snapshot of home and community laced with cracks of misunderstanding. What if I talked to them? He finally suggested. But the tremor in his own voice betrayed an undertow of uncertainty. Mia shook her head, resolute. It has to come from me, Dad. They don't know how it feels. They need to hear it from someone who understands. Tentatively, she stood taller, heart pounding, her young spirit battling the tide of uncaring adults. And as she took a small step forward, she looked back, catching her father's eyes. They shimmered with a mix of pride and trepidation. He was both terrified and amazed by her bravery. Just then, a sudden shout erupted from the far side of the yard, drawing attention away. Hey! What's this? Someone's upset? It was Mr. Thompson himself, approaching slowly with a few plates in hand, seeking to join the crowd. The moment felt electric, as chatter circled back, notes of regret interweaving with laughter. Mia's heart fluttered. Would this be the moment? Would she finally get the chance to speak up, to set things right? The tension hung thick, like the dark clouds before a storm. As she squared her shoulders, ready to give her voice wings, an unexpected footstep echoed between them, one that transported her thoughts into uncharted territory. Would this confrontation change not just her budding mission, but also the very fabric of her father's world? With everyone's eyes now turned toward her and Mr. Thompson, a heavy pause settled around them, and Mia could feel the gravity of the moment. What would happen next would lead to a revelation neither of them expected. Mr. Thompson's eyes widened as he registered the moment. A wave of genuine warmth washed over his weathered features, and he suddenly looked less like an old man burdened by others' perceptions and more like a grandchild about to hear a well-loved story. Mia's pulse quickened. Her thoughts raced. Would her words break the barrier that separated compassion from indifference? The adults had turned like a flock of startled birds, their laughter transformed into a stillness, an uneasy anticipation. Mia took a deep breath. Mr. Thompson, she began, her voice trembling but steadying with determination, you're more than what they're saying. You're not just a name, or a problem to be solved. You're a person. You've done so much for all of us. She felt her father's presence behind her, a quiet strength whispering encouragement. The backyard had transformed into something sacred, their small circle now a sanctuary of shared emotions, fragile but real. I remember you telling me about the time you helped my dad win the championship game. Mia continued, her own memories rising up like bubbles from a fizzy drink. You gave everything you had, even when things were tough. We need to remember that about you. A murmur rippled through the crowd, and some faces softened as they recalled their own stories of Mr. Thompson's kindness and support. The air hung heavy, tension melting into something that felt warmer like the summer sun after a cool breeze. Thank you, Mia, Mr. Thompson replied, his voice low but resonating with gratitude. The way he looked at her was more than just pride, it was like she had handed him a piece of his worth back. You deserve help. You deserve respect. So, let us talk about how we can help you, just like you've helped so many of us. Mia felt tears prick at the corner of her eyes, but she held them back. She wouldn't let fear dampen her resolve. Suddenly, one of the neighbors stepped forward, guilt glimmering in her eyes. You're right, Mia. Maybe we shouldn't judge him. It's easy to forget, to be quick to dismiss, another neighbor added, shame chasing away their initial laughter as they recalled their own past interactions with Mr. Thompson. This was unexpected. Each soft admission was another stone rolling away from the walls that had been built around assumptions and missed connections. There was something almost miraculous about watching those walls come tumbling down, crumbling under the weight of humility and realization. Mia caught her father's gaze again. His expression, a beautiful mixture of awe and pride, filled her with a sense of purpose stronger than she had felt moments ago. There was more to do. The conversation was only the beginning. The evening light flickered above them, the garden feeling less like a battleground and more like a healing space. It wasn't just about Mr. Thompson anymore. It was about the community, about the hearts that lived there. But what will happen tomorrow? Mia wondered. Would this fleeting moment of connection last? What could she do to keep their eyes open to care long after the sun set on this gathering? Suddenly, Mr. Thompson spoke up, bringing back their focus. Let us not just talk. Let us form a plan. We can do this together. Mia's heart soared at his words, but a thread of worry still wove through her thoughts. Could she really pull this off? Her mind raced with ideas. As the group began discussing ways to assist Mr. Thompson meals, visits, kindness, Mia took a deep breath. With every suggestion, every nod of agreement, a new tapestry of togetherness wove around them, and for the first time, it felt like change was possible. But as dusk settled in and shadows began to stretch, Mia knew she couldn't just stop here. She had ignited a spark. She had to keep the flames alive. How would she inspire them to continue this effort, and ensure they remained engaged? What new challenges awaited this fragile unity in a world that often overlooked the elderly? And just then, another thought struck her, something deeper, something she had yet to explore fully. What if this was just the beginning of her own journey in leading the way toward compassion? As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the backyard in a soft, golden hue, a sense of anticipation filled the air. Mia felt electric. The conversations around her swirled like leaves in a gentle breeze, each suggestion sparking more excitement and commitment. She locked eyes with Mr. Thompson, his expression warm and encouraging, but when he looked down at the ground for a moment, she sensed a lingering fear. Mr. Thompson, Mia said, taking a step closer, what do you need? What would help you the most? He paused, the lines on his face deepening as he considered her question. I've been alone for a long time. Meals would help. But really, it's the company I miss. Just talking, sharing stories. His voice trailed off, heavy with unspoken longing. Mia felt a pang in her heart. She opened her mouth to speak, but instead a different voice rose from the crowd. Clara, a neighbor who had always been more reserved, now ventured forward. You know, I could cook a meal or two, she said, her voice shaky but growing steadier as she continued. I could drop by and visit on Sundays. Another neighbor quickly chimed in, count me in with desserts. I bake the best chocolate cake. Mia smiled wide as more and more people joined in, offering to bring food, check in on Mr. Thompson, and even organize a small community potluck in his honor. It felt like a wave of warmth radiating from them, wrapping Mr. Thompson in its embrace. But beneath the joy of the moment lingered a worry that tightened in Mia's stomach. A part of her wanted to grab hold of this sense of unity and keep it safe. Yet she realized then that it required more than just good intentions. What if we did something bigger? Mia announced, her voice carrying excitement. How about we start a monthly community dinner where we all share meals, stories, and laughter? We can invite everyone, not just for Mr. Thompson, but for all of us. There was a stillness, the kind that comes right before a storm, and then bursts of agreement began to ripple through the crowd. "I love it! We can take turns hosting," said one neighbor, while others nodded eagerly, images of laughter and connection forming in their minds. Mia felt a thrill of power surge through her. But then it hit her, the challenge before them wasn't just about sharing food. It would demand ongoing commitment and understanding. As the conversations resumed around her, she remembered the fear that once separated them all. How fragile this new unity felt, how easily it could break if they didn't nurture it. Her dad stepped forward, placing his hand on her shoulder. "You're leading a movement, Mia. But are you ready for what's to come?" His words were both a question and a call to action. Mia looked around, excited yet anxious. It wouldn't be just food they'd be sharing. It would be their lives, their stories, their vulnerabilities. With the evening growing dim, she realized that each meal shared would be a chance to uncover pieces of each other, to confront not only Mr. Thompson's loneliness but also their own. "Let us promise each other to stay connected," she said, gathering courage. "And I'll organize the first dinner. Mr. Thompson, we can share your stories too. Everyone deserves to hear how amazing you are." The crowd erupted into cheers and laughter, but in the pit of Mia's stomach, a weight settled. Could they truly transform into this vibrant community? Would they all show up again when the sun set on the first dinner? As the stars began to twinkle overhead, Mia glanced second to the whispering shadows surrounding them. What if this wasn't just about bringing food? What if it was about something deeper, something that challenged each neighbor to reflect on their own hidden burdens? A sudden idea struck her. What if the next gathering would challenge them in a way that transcended comfort? What if the first dinner became more than just a meal? What if we included stories of our struggles? She asked slowly, feeling the weight of her own words. What if we create a space where we can share what we usually hide? A hush fell over the group as they contemplated her proposition. Mia's heart raced. Might this truly be the turning point for all of them? As each neighbor's gaze shifted toward Mr. Thompson, she realized that their journey was just beginning. And in that moment, the weight of transformation hung in the air like possibility itself, reminding her that the path ahead would be as much about healing themselves as it was about lifting another. But what would happen when they dared to face their truths? Would they all be ready to take that step into vulnerability? The first dinner approached faster than Mia had anticipated. With every passing day, excitement buzzed throughout the neighborhood, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Yet, beneath that warmth, anxiety gnawed at her. Could they truly open their hearts to one another? As she set up tables and chairs in her backyard, she couldn't shake the fear that her grand idea might fizzle out. She straightened a crooked chair and took a deep breath. Her dad stepped outside, holding a few bowls of fresh fruit. "You've really pulled everyone together, haven't you?" he said, setting the bowls on the table. "It feels good, but I worry." Mia trailed off, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of a tablecloth. "Worry about what?" he asked gently, pausing to look her in the eye. "What if they don't want to share their struggles? What if it's too much for them? What if they think I'm just a kid?" He smiled, kneeling beside her. "Being a kid doesn't mean you can't inspire. You're leading this, Mia, and that takes bravery. Remember, everyone has their burdens. Just by being here, you've already shown them it's okay to be vulnerable." Mia gazed around her yard, imagining the laughter and stories that would fill the space just a few hours later. Would people really open up to one another? As the sun began to sink, illuminating the backyard in shades of deep orange and pink, the first guests started to arrive. Mr. Thompson was among the first, carrying a carefully wrapped dish. "I made my famous beef stew," he said, his voice shy but brightening with each word. "Yum, I can't wait to try it," Mia replied with a smile. "You might have to share the recipe, too." Before long, the backyard was filled with neighbors, each bringing dishes that carried memories and moments from their lives. Laughter echoed, and for a moment, the air was thick with joy. Mia moved from person to person, feeling the rhythm of community building all around her. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Mia gathered everyone's attention. "Thank you all for being here tonight. This dinner is not just about food, it's about connection. Tonight, Let us share our stories, what holds us back, what brings us joy. The initial response was silence. Her heart raced, a mix of excitement and fear. Clara broke the ice, glancing nervously at the crowd. I can start. I was really shy growing up. I always thought no one would want to hear what I had to say. One by one, stories began to spill out like the dishes filling the table. Each revelation brought more vulnerability and warmth. People shared their fears of loneliness like Mr. Thompson, the grief of losing loved ones, the struggles of battling self-doubt that many of them felt. As Mia listened, she could feel a spark igniting, a powerful sense of connection weaving them closer together. The walls between them started to crumble. Then it was Mia's turn. Standing before her neighbors, she took a deep breath. I'm not just scared about tonight. I've struggled with feeling like I don't fit in. But I realized, through all of you, that none of us are alone in this. We all want to be heard. The heartfelt silence that followed was filled with understanding. She noticed the glistening eyes in the crowd. Their shared experiences had built a bridge between their hearts. Mr. Thompson stepped forward, wiping a tear, and said, "You've brought us all together, dear." And then came a knock at the gate. A few nearby neighbors peeked in, drawn in by the laughter. When Mia opened the gate, she didn't just invite in two strangers but opened the door to fresh potential. "Come join us," she called, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "We were just sharing stories." As the new guests stepped in, Mia felt the jubilance of the moment shift into uncharted territory. What if this sharing continued to grow, transforming their quiet neighborhood into something that people outside would never want to miss? But with new faces came new uncertainties. Would they be ready to partake in the stories of their struggles? Mia's stomach twisted with the thrill of possibility as they all gathered around. "Tonight is just the beginning," she called out, feeling empowered. "Let's make this a tradition to turn to. Let us face our truths together." The crowd erupted into applause, but beneath the celebration loomed the weighty question: could they keep this light of connection ignited, or would the fear of vulnerability hold them back once more? Mia felt the warmth of applause ripple through her, a surge of encouragement washing over her like sunlight breaking through the clouds. As the clapping faded, she noticed the new guests lingering at the edge of the group, uncertainty etched on their faces, like butterflies held captive in a jar. "Come on in," she urged, her voice a blend of enthusiasm and reassurance. "We want to hear your stories too." They exchanged hesitant glances before stepping forward, and suddenly the atmosphere shifted. A young woman, possibly in her 20s, stepped forward, shaking slightly. I'm Lily," she said, her voice trembling. "I've been feeling pretty lost lately. I just moved here, and I don't really know anyone." The words hung in the air, a fragile confession. Mia saw the recognition flicker in her neighbor's eyes. Each had once stood in those very shoes, feeling like an outsider in an entire world. "Lily, you're not alone," Mia said softly, feeling her heart tug at the sincerity of the moment. "Sharing this space helps us feel connected. We're glad you're here." Murmurs of agreement flowed through the crowd as Mr. Thompson chimed in. "When I first moved here, I felt like an alien. It took a long time to feel like I belong." With every shared story, the energy in the yard thickened. A woven tapestry of vulnerability and strength hung in the air. The laughter, once solely merry, began to echo warmth with heavier undertones of empathic understanding. An elderly woman, Mrs. Jenkins, finally spoke up. "I lost my husband last year, and it's been hard. I never thought I'd be sharing my life with others again." Her voice quivered, but she stood taller as she continued. "It's daunting to think about sharing my heart. Yet, somehow, I feel a spark tonight. I think it's the hope of connection." Mia felt a lump rise in her throat. This was what she had hoped for, people finding solace in one another, gathering strength through honesty, and catalyzing hope where silence had once reigned. Then, sensing the moment was ripe, she stepped in again. "What if we turn this into a regular thing? We could meet once a month, maybe bring new faces along, and share more than just food." Excited nods began to ripple through the crowd, and Mia's heart soared. They were building something beautiful amidst their pain. Clara chimed in, "I love that idea. We could even do theme nights like a storytelling potluck. I'm in. But what happens when stories turn dark? Someone from the back interjected. A wave of tension crackled briefly through the group, but it was met with more open conversations about real struggles. Mia took another deep breath, the scent of freshly prepared dishes mingling with her growing determination. Those dark parts are part of our stories, too. It's what makes us human. We can support each other to help rise above them. As the night unfolded, Mia felt herself more alive than ever. She witnessed her neighbors reach deeper, pulling bits of their souls from hidden corners. Each word shared melded together, stitching their lives into a community quilt. But as the dinner lingered on, something was stirring in Mia, a fear she hadn't yet addressed. What if someone shared a story that resonated too deeply with her own? That thought nagged at her as they transitioned into laughter-filled conversations. How would she handle the echoes of her heart, scared of being found too vulnerable? Just then, the air shifted again, and a mysterious figure hovered at the edge of the yard, a man with a solemn expression and familiar eyes. He looked oddly like someone from her past, someone she had tried to forget. Mia's breath caught in her throat. What would this new arrival mean for the cozy bubble of connection they had formed? Mia, the man called, his voice almost a whisper, drawing everyone's attention. The night's tapestry suddenly felt fragile as the shadows of familiar struggles loomed larger. What would happen next? Mia's heart raced. The voices around her faded into a dull echo as she turned slowly, unable to pull her gaze away from the man standing there. The soft glow of the yard lights cast a faint light on his features, but even in shadow, she could see the pain etched in his eyes. It was David, her high school sweetheart, the boy she once believed she would spend her life with. Memories flooded her mind, memories she had buried deep. She felt a mix of emotions, surprise, anger, and the undeniable ache of nostalgia. Why was he here now? After all these years? The laughter from the gathering felt distant, as if the vibrancy of the moment were drowning in the very pool of her past. Mia, he repeated, stepping closer, the uncertainty in his voice carving a crack in her wall of composure. She could hear the crowd's whispers, a rustle of confusion passing through them. How do you know my name? Her voice came out sharper than she intended, echoing against the warm wooden fence of the yard, leaving the question lingering in the air like a deflated balloon. I came to see you. His eyes were earnest, locking onto hers with an unsettling familiarity. I heard about the gathering and I wanted to apologize. For everything. Mia's breath quickened, her pulse pounding in her ears. Apologize? She had spent years wrestling with their unfinished story. The emotions she had kept restrained clawed at her, begging for release. She felt the brimming eyes of her neighbors on her, their questions bouncing silently among them, eager for the next chapter to unfold. David, that was a long time ago. I thought we were done. She crossed her arms, a defensive posture that felt like armor against the softening of her resolve. I know, he said, guilt marking his tone. But after everything that happened, I realized how much I hurt you. How I chose everything but us. I came to make things right, if that's even possible. The words fluttered in the air between them, raw and sincere. Mia glanced at the crowd, her community, the friends who had been her lifeline over the years. They were watching her, waiting, the once warm energy now felt charged with anticipation. Before she could respond, Lily's voice broke into the air, tentative yet strong. Mia, if it's okay, I want to share something. Everyone shifted their attention, and Mia felt a flutter of relief. Maybe it was a distraction, a reprieve from her own storm. Lily stepped forward, pulling together courage despite her previous hesitation. I came here feeling so alone, but listening to all of you has been healing. It made me want to be brave, like you said. So I'll share. My parents are divorcing, and it hurts, but I don't want to keep that pain inside. Her voice cracked, and it seemed the whole crowd held its breath. As she spoke, Mia felt the weight of her own uncertainty. She could act, let her walls down, or remain locked behind them. But was she ready to relive her past, to confront the emotions that David brought back? I admire your strength, Lily. Mia offered, her words pouring out almost instinctively. We all have things we hide. Those stories matter. But the tension was palpable, and David stood patiently, the shadows of their shared history hauntingly close. What if they could find closure there, under the stars with everyone watching? Could he still hurt her like before? Mia's thoughts raced. She had created this beautiful moment of connection. Was she willing to risk it all over a man who had walked away once before? Just then, Clara pulled Mia aside, steering her gently away from the crowd. You don't have to do anything you're not ready for. You're building something here, you don't have to disrupt it. But if you need to confront him, I'll be right here. The warmth of Clara's hands gave Mia a sliver of strength, but still, uncertainty churned in her stomach like a storm. Would she find closure in the very moment she had fought so hard to create? Mia's decision loomed over her like the thick branches of the ancient oak above, unstable yet sturdy. It was all too much, overwhelming and beautiful and terrifying. And as she looked back at David's hopeful eyes, she knew one truth: the night was far from over. Can we talk? Mia finally whispered, vulnerability wrapping around her heart. She took a deep breath. What lay ahead could change everything. As she stepped forward, she wondered, could this be the moment where she either found release or disappeared beneath the weight of what was left unsaid? Mia felt a tremor of anxiety pass through her as she stepped back toward David. The laughter of the crowd faded into the background, creating a silence that was almost deafening. She could feel the world around her slow down, like thick syrup pouring from a bottle. David shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his gaze unwavering. The sincerity in his eyes was palpable, but so was the doubt lingering in Mia's mind. Did he really mean what he said? Did he understand the depth of the hurt he caused? Where do we even start? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He took a cautious step forward, as if he was moving into a minefield. I know I don't deserve your trust, he began, frail hope threading through his words. But I've spent all these years regretting how things ended between us. I should have fought for us. I should have fought for you. His words sank into her, the warmth of nostalgia battling against the chill of betrayal. Mia! Clara's voice called out, snapping her momentarily back to the crowd. But she felt every fiber of her being tugging her back to David. It was so easy for you to walk away back then, Mia breathed, the words spilling out like a long-buried confession. You made your choices and I had to deal with the consequences. You think an apology is going to fix that? I don't expect you to forgive me just like that, but I hope. I hope you'll at least hear me out, he pleaded, her heart twisted painfully. Part of her wanted to yell, to say all the things she'd kept bottled up, but there was another part, that flutter of hope that wanted to understand. The gathering's vibe shifted, it felt electric with anticipation. People leaned in, their eyes wide and alert, caught in this fragile dance of emotions. Fine, Mia said, her breath trembling. Let us talk. But this isn't about digging up old wounds, it's about understanding them. He nodded eagerly, relief flooding his face, and Mia noticed a few bystanders exchange whispers, though the majority remained silent. In that second, Mia felt the weight of the universe on her shoulders. Let us step over here, she suggested quietly, motioning to a dimly lit corner of the yard. She didn't want to lay out her vulnerable heart in front of a crowd, even if they would be supportive. As they walked away, the light dimmed, and soon the murmurs of the gathering faded. The air around them felt thick with memories. Mia, I know I was young and naive, David started, the guilt in his voice making it tremble. I wasn't ready for what we had. I didn't know how to handle it. And I took you for granted, not just your love, but your dreams, your future. She stared at him, her heart thrumming painfully, caught between wanting to scream and wanting to weep. That's the thing, she replied, her voice thick with emotion. I had so many dreams lined up for us, for me. And they felt so real. Then you were just gone. It was like losing my compass. I felt lost. His expression softened, pain mirrored in his eyes. I can't change what I did, but I want you to know I've changed, I've learned. Sometimes it takes losing everything to make you see what's truly important. Have you really changed? Mia challenged, her breathing quickening as she crossed her arms defensively. He looked down, contemplating the question. Yes. I've spent years regretting the way I walked away. I came back, not just for an apology, but to show you I want to be better. I want to be in your life again, even if it's just as a friend. Mia's thoughts tumbled in her mind like leaves caught in a whirlwind. Could she take that risk? Could she really open her heart to someone who once shattered it into pieces? Before she could answer, a commotion erupted from the crowd, drawing their attention. A child's laughter rang out, bright and innocent, cutting through the thick tension. Hey, what's going on? Clara called, making her way toward them. Mia turned back to David, her heart racing. She wondered if she could move past the pain, if they could truly reconnect. She wasn't sure what the answer would be, but the question loomed larger than ever. Could they both find a new beginning in a history filled with heartache? And as the crowd closed in, Mia felt the familiar pull of hope beneath the weight of uncertainty, a flicker of what might be. Mia stood frozen, her pulse racing, tangled between the past and what could be. David's gaze held hers, and within those depths, she saw sincerity battling with uncertainty. The laughter from the party felt too distant for comfort, like a dream fading alarmingly fast. David broke the silence first, his voice almost tentative. I really didn't think it would come to this. I didn't believe we'd ever get a chance to talk again. Mia's frown deepened. Neither did I. But here we are. A flicker of emotion crossed his face. I never wanted to hurt you, Mia. It was easier to pretend everything was okay when I was running away. She inhaled sharply. But in running, you left behind more than just memories. You crushed everything I believed in about us, about love. Each word, each admission was like peeling away layers of old wounds, exposing raw flesh she thought had healed. Anger simmered just under the surface, battling with the newfound curiosity she felt toward David's journey. Can I ask you something? Mia's voice shook slightly as she asked, the need for answers making her vulnerable. What did it take for you to realize what you lost? His shoulders sagged. It took moving away, trying to find happiness in other places, other relationships that just never felt right. They were just distractions, I guess. I realized every time I saw couples, I felt this deep pit of loneliness. I kept thinking about you. About what could have been. David, she whispered, battling with confusion. That doesn't erase what you did. It doesn't make all of this hurt disappear. The ache behind her eyes threatened to spill over. I don't expect it to, he replied softly, stepping closer. But I want to be part of your life if you'll let me. I'm not asking for everything right away, the trust, the love. I know it takes time. I just want a chance to show you the person I've become. Mia's heart raced. A chance. That single word lingered in the air, laced with hope and fear. I don't know, David. I don't know if I can go through that again. It's like standing on a cliff, staring into the void. He nodded, his expression mirroring her turmoil. I get that. But what if the void holds something new? Something better? As the words hung between them, Clara's laughter erupted again, echoing through the stillness and drawing closer with each moment. But it felt more like a warning. Mia! David! Clara called, her cheerful tone clashing with the heavy air. Everyone's starting to worry. Is everything okay? Mia's heart sank. The warmth of the gathering suddenly felt cold, like reality crashing back in. She was teetering on the edge of forgiveness, yet faced with the thought of having to explain to everyone what was happening. Maybe we need to wrap this up for now, Mia said, her voice almost breaking. I'm not sure about anything right now. David stepped back slightly, a shadow crossing his features. I can wait. I'll do whatever it takes. Her breath stuttered at his intention. And what about Clara? She doesn't know the whole story. Maybe it's time she does, he suggested gently. It's your choice, Mia. I'll leave it to you. As the tension of the moment expanded, Mia felt an electric jolt of indecision. Could she really start this journey again, even with the past tugging at her heart? With Clara's footsteps approaching, Mia knew soon she'd have to make a choice. The weight of the moment loomed heavy and unresolved. Can you hold this thought for a moment? I need space to think, to breathe, she said softly. He nodded, understanding flickering in his eyes as if he knew the heaviness that settled in her chest. As Clara arrived, the noise of the gathering flooded their intimate moment, washing over the stillness. Mia turned toward her friend, confusion mixing with hope. But could she let go of the past while reaching for a future uncertain yet promising? That question hung in the air, much like the light fading from the sky, leaving her in semi-darkness, wondering what choices awaited her in the shadows ahead. As the laughter and chatter of the gathering engulfed Mia, she felt as if she were caught between two worlds, one filled with joy and connection, and the other steeped in unresolved pain and uncertainty. The voices of her neighbors laughed and shared stories, but Mia's heart pounded, an echo of her conversation with David reverberating through her thoughts. She could see Clara's bright smile as she approached, her warmth cutting through the heavy atmosphere. "Hey, what's going on?" Clara asked, her eyes bouncing between Mia and David with curiosity and concern. Mia hesitated, the moment they had been sharing slipping like sand through her fingers. "Just catching up," she said, trying to keep her tone light, though her heart felt anything but. David wanted to talk. "Oh?" Clara responded, tilting her head thoughtfully. "About what?" "About everything," Mia replied quietly, searching David's eyes for reassurance. His gaze was steady, a promise of understanding amid the chaos. The energy of the gathering seemed to rise and fall like waves. Clara's expression shifted, her concern morphing into a steady resolve. "Mia, if you need me to step in, I will, or if you want to share, I'm here." Mia felt a rush of gratitude for her friend. Clara was a lighthouse in tumultuous waters, guiding her back to the shore of clarity. Yet still, uncertainty gripped her. How could she find her voice amidst wanting to protect what she'd built, and the urge to confront feelings she had long buried? Just then, a small group of neighbors came into view, carrying dessert plates, laughter spilling over like whipped cream atop pies. Suddenly, laughter rang out anew, light cutting through the clouds of tension. "What do we miss?" one neighbor exclaimed, a bright grin on her face. Mia felt the moment of connection shift back to something warm and inviting, pulling her from the edge of doubt. As the group settled into the rhythm of the gathering, with food being passed around and stories intertwined into the summer air, Mia slowly savored the aroma, the laughter, the familiar stories of her community blending into a beautiful tapestry. Then, a voice interrupted her reverie. "Can I say something?" It was Mr. Thompson, the elderly clerk who had brightened up Mia's heart. He stood with a small plate in hand, looking around at the community enveloping him. "This dinner, this connection, it reminds me of the importance of sharing. When I fought in the war, I learned that the greatest strength comes from opening your heart to one another. You realize that together, you can overcome anything." His words hung in the air, resonating deeply with Mia. She watched the neighbors lean in, smiles brightening their faces as they hung on to each word. The lesson of honesty echoed her own thoughts about facing darkness and letting light in. Mia's heart swelled. Could her community truly embrace imperfection and build something beautiful from it? As Mr. Thompson continued, she felt her worries beginning to lift. "Kindness, connection, and vulnerability make us stronger," he said, breaking into a genuine smile. "So let us commit to showing up for one another." Mia felt warmth blossom in her chest, igniting her courage. "Can we continue this?" she called out, the depth of her hope shining through. "Let us meet once a month, not just for food but to support one another, share our stories. Let us build a community that lifts each other." The buzz of encouragement filled the air, and her neighbors nodded eagerly. Mr. Thompson's eyes sparkled with pride. "You've just taken a monumental step for all of us," he said, beaming at Mia. "Change starts with each of you sharing your hearts." As cheers erupted, Mia locked eyes with David, a silent understanding passing between them. This was more than just a moment, it was an invitation to healing, to transformation. She realized she had a journey ahead of her, one that involved facing both the past and the future. And she could do it with support around her. Over the weeks, Mia held fast to her plan, coordinating dinners that blossomed into a tradition where stories spilled out under the stars, and laughter echoed through the night. Neighbors shared burdens in honesty, loss, joy, moments of failure and triumph, David walked into her life gradually, each visit a step towards healing. He listened, shared his own struggles, and opened up about his journey. With each conversation, the weight she had once carried began to lighten. The brick wall she had erected around her heart built with distrust and pain started to crumble. Mia felt her heart bloom again. She no longer stood on the precipice of hurt but instead found herself surrounded by a vibrant community, strengthened by veils of vulnerability they had draped over each other. Connections that had once felt tentative now filled her life like sunlight streaming through the leaves of an old tree. One night, as the sun dipped below the horizon, turning the sky into a canvas of pink and gold, Mia found herself standing at the heart of her backyard surrounded by friends new and old. "Look at what we've built together," she marveled aloud. "Thank you for sharing your stories, for lifting each other up." Clara nudged her gently, grinning. And all because of a small act of kindness started by a fearless girl. And in that moment, with the laughter of friends bubbling around her and shared stories echoing in the warm summer air, Mia knew she had not just transformed her community but had also embarked on a new, hope-filled journey. This moment was proof that courage and compassion could erase the shadows of discord, creating a world rich with understanding. So, take this tale with you and embrace the moments of connection in your own lives. Remember, every act of kindness ripples out, building beautiful chains of love and support one story at a time. Now, if this story struck a chord with you, you need to subscribe immediately to my channel. Don't wait not even one more second to share. It's the moment to show your support by clicking that like button right now. Leave a comment below sharing your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your words matter so much. And don't forget, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans understand the power of spreading connection,